Welcome to Uccello's for today's media luncheon. Our players, defensive end Alton Voss, quarterback Bart Williams, and head coach Matt Mitchell in the middle. Coach, if you can talk about the victory at Walsh last week, and then we'll move on to Ohio Dominican.
Sure. I thought we got off to a great start, and a lot of it had to do with our preparation, our focus on the trip. We started the way we like to start in terms of the game. We deferred the toss. We kicked off. We had great kickoff coverage. Grant Postma did an excellent job running down. Good kick by Joel Skipper, and drive started on the 12. We get a 3-and-out on defense, and then they punt the ball away. We get the ball at midfield. We go down and score in the opening possession. So I think that showed we were ready to go. We executed offensively and defensively, special teams from the get-go, and jumped out to a 24-0 lead, obviously, at halftime. So when you take a look at the three phases of the team, extremely impressed with our defense. Again, as we mentioned, Walsh had been struggling offensively, but we still had a great approach defensively. I mean, we were very fast, very physical, very violent. We were running to the football, and we were hitting people, and we're creating a lot of problems for Walsh. I will give them a lot of credit. Walsh, their players and coaches, they emptied the tank. I mean, they broke out a lot of things that we hadn't seen. Their offense came out with some new stuff we hadn't seen, did some shifts and some trades and some explode plays and some other things, and I thought we handled that really well defensively, and then their players too. I mean, I think the Walsh players really competed for the entire game, but our defense was very active just in terms of the pursuit and the effort and a lot of things that have nothing to do with the defensive call, more about the mindset and the way that they approach the game. So we hit the quarterback, a lot, put him down, and I thought we were just very aggressive in our approach to the game, which is good to see from that side of the ball. We'd had a little bit of trouble in the red zone defensively the first couple games, and that obviously improved. We forced 2 turnovers down there, and then they threw a ball from the 27, and Garrett Punier came across and hit the tight end, caused a fumble there. So we were able to get some red zone turnovers. I thought were very key for our red zone defense and to develop some confidence there. Really, the defense, too, got put in a couple tough spots. They faked a punt on us, and they went out and responded there. We had a couple of turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. Our defense just went out there and stepped up. And it doesn't matter who you're playing. When you post a shutout, that's very hard to do in college football. So, hats off to our defense for their performance on Saturday. Offensively, I think that maybe the biggest difference from this game as opposed to the previous 3 games, not quite as many of explosive plays. We were able to have some balance on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, you take a look at the 2 interceptions. You want to take a look at that. That's not just a quarterback thing. That's an entire offensive thing. The first turnover bounced off 3-4 people that way. But, our offense, we were either scoring points or, we had the 2 turnovers. Other than that, our first unit never punted one time. So we just had to grind out a few more drives. That was the biggest difference. We weren't hitting explosive runs. We did have an explosive pass play to Nick Dotson. That was a big one. But other than that, we were having to advance the football, and that's what they were giving us, and that's what we had to do. The 2 areas that we knew we had to improve on in 2016 with our offense relative to 2015 was our red zone efficiency and also our third down conversion rate. I mean, our offense converted 80% of their third downs on Saturday. Now, should we have been in 15 third downs? Maybe not. But we got in those third down situations, and we converted 80% of them, and it was a variety of ways that we did that, whether it was shorter yardage stuff, some longer deals, throwing the ball, some longer down at distances where Bart had to scramble out and make some plays. And then red zone, I mean, we've been really good on the offensive side of the ball in the red zone. I think we've got a good plan. We have good players. We did have to settle for 1 field goal, but when you look at through the first 4 games, our red zone efficiency, it's been very, very strong. So I thought, there's some things that we can get better on the offensive side of the ball, but I thought we played well. I thought our quarterback, I thought Bart did a great job of, kind of having to manage some things that weren't exactly clean. I mean, there's been some cleaner pockets the first 3 games. There's been some cleaner things in terms of windows. I mean, he made some plays. He stepped up and made plays and under some duress. And so, one of those things, if you just look at the stat sheet and that's all you do is just examine the stat sheet, you see he hadn't thrown a pick and there's 2 interceptions here, you could jump to conclusions. But when you dig deeper and you take a look at the tape, I thought probably a couple throws you wish you could have back, but I thought he played well. And like I said, I think there's been a big difference him in 2016 too of his comfortability in the pocket, and when maybe things aren't great, he's scrambling and he's running and he's getting us some first downs, and that adds another dimension to our offense. instead of getting back there and taking some sacks and some things happening. He's been on the move, and I've been impressed with his ability to scramble and continue out. So, special teams, I think, the unique challenge special teams based on the way our defense is playing, we're not getting a lot of opportunities on the kickoff return. We were out there once on Saturday, and it was a touchback. And our punt team isn't getting a lot of work either, which I'm okay with both of those things, but we need to continue to hammer those in practice. Kickoff coverage got better. We cleaned that up. And, our punt return team, we were close. We continue to make progress. Matt did have an explosive punt return, which led to a touchdown on there. And we just got to get a little bit better on some of our outside guys, getting guys held up for him. That was probably the biggest thing coming away. So we are force-feeding a lot of young players in the special teams, and those guys got opportunities, and we're going to continue to stick with the guys that are making plays, and the guys that aren't, we're going to have to start looking to maybe get some other guys in the game. But extremely happy to go on the road and get a shutout, beat a team 38-0. And again, you can slice and dice and do whatever you want with statistics, but at the end of the day, we beat somebody by 38 points on the road, and we're sitting here, at 4-0, and with an opportunity to get another win here this weekend and just try to go 1-0. So Saturday, looking forward to that challenge, and it will be a challenge. Ohio Dominican has a very rich tradition here in recent history. They have a lot of pride. You can definitely tell that based on watching the tape here the past 24 hours. They compete. It's going to be at their place. We've had some hard-fought games down at their place, including last year was a very hard-fought game. So I'm anticipating a very physical, hard-fought game. Again, you look at comparative scores and you want to make those associations. Those are false. We don't get into that. We take a look at the tape, and you are what you put on tape. And what you're seeing on tape from Ohio Dominican, they have a very active defense, a very physical defense, a defense that's coached extremely well. And they've always had very strong defenses down at Ohio Dominican. I'm not sure this year is any different. The last couple weeks, they've really relied on their defense, to keep them in ball games and win ball games. A lot of respect. I don't know him, but I have a lot of respect for Grant Russell and the way he plays, their quarterback. He's a very you just tell he's a tough kid. I mean, he takes some shots, he bounces up, he has a lot of pop, a lot of energy. He's a very competitive kid. You can just tell that on tape. I don't know him, but I'm making assumptions based on the products on tape. And he's kind of a dual threat guy. They'll run some option with him. They'll run some quarterback runs. They'll also throw the ball with him too. So he's a year older. He's a year more mature, a year older in their system that way. And I think the thing that's, offensively, they had some really great skill kids offensively. And Grand Valley had faced some of those skill kids. One of them made it to the NFL and was in a camp. And, I think that's probably maybe a little bit of difference from the 16 version of Ohio Dominican to the 15 version. They're just trying to break in some new backs and break in some new wideouts. But they have a system. They believe in what they do on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, special teams. They're, very coached, and they're a tenacious group. This will be a group that's going to be very competitive in this conference the rest of the way out. And so for us, it's just about, Grand Valley, and we know we're in for a tough test. I think our players understand that. I think they have a lot of respect for Ohio Dominican when they play football. We know it's going to be a hard-fought battle. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a four-quarter type game. And, I think we've put ourselves in a position to accept this challenge with our start, and it's probably what we need at this point in time. Questions?
Matt, you've given up 38 points this year. Now I'm looking at Ohio Dominican's schedule. They won a game in which they gave up 37. Ashland last week won a game they gave up 31. You guys are fewer than 10 a game. How do you account for the big differential that you have? I mean, what are the things that are just allowing you to keep people off the board even when they're getting on your side of the 50-yard line?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's like I always say, there's a combination of factors to that. I mean, first of all, you have to take a look at, our players. We have depth and experience at all three levels of our defense. Our defensive line has a really good mixture of players. We have inside guys that are very physical, that don't get pushed around. We have ends that are fast, they're active, they are very explosive. You take a look at our linebackers. They all tackle well. They run and they tackle well, and they're very competitive people. Joe Moran, Colin Slosher, extremely competitive people. David Talley's a competitive person. So Marquez Goldman, an extremely competitive person. And, same thing with the back end of our defense. I think we're a year older and a little bit more mature back there. So I would say that. I think our defensive staff has done a good job. I think the biggest difference, this year, 16 to 15, has been third down. We put a big emphasis on our third down, and we have a lot of defense in on third down. We put a lot of pressure on our players to learn a lot of things. We had a couple busts on Saturday in some third down situations, but we're putting a lot of stuff on tape. a lot of stuff on tape. You know, sometimes we bring a little maximum pressure, sometimes maximum coverage. There's a lot of fronts. There's a lot of different looks, a lot of different people that people have to prepare for on third down. So I think that's the biggest thing. When you take a look at Grand Valley football, the differential between our third down conversion percentage relative to our opponents, it's been very striking the first 4 games. We've done a good job getting off the field, and we struggled with that last year a couple times. And a couple of the losses, we struggled on our third down conversion percentage. And then you also have to take into account the opposition, the opponents. I'm not going to discredit the fact that we have faced some quarterbacks. It's their first-time starters, first-time playing, and they're having to go up against some tough competition. The young man we played for Walsh, that was his first start as a freshman. Lake Erie's quarterback, that was his first experience there. We have Antonio Pipkin and Shea Brown are veteran quarterbacks, but they also had some inexperienced people on the edges. Northern Michigan, not as many wideouts they had the years past. Same thing with Tiffin. There's some newer faces on the outside. So it's all those factors. I think it's all those factors included. But we're in a good spot with our defense right now because they have a lot of confidence in each other. I think the whole unit has confidence that I'm 1/11th of this operation, that I can trust the people around me. I think the coaches have a tremendous amount of confidence in our players, and I would hope, you can ask Voss and these guys, but I think our players have confidence in our coaching staff that they're going to attempt to try to put them in some very favorable positions to help them make some plays too.
Alton, can you talk a little bit about what the depth at your position and along the line has allowed you guys to do in terms of keeping people off the scoreboard?
Yeah, like Coach said, we have depth, we have experience. When I'm on the field, I have Sydney on the other side, or I have Dylan Carroll, or I have Jacob Howe. And then on the inside, you have DJ Hogan, Mark Rosenquist, Sonny. So we have a lot of depth and experience. And because everyone is playing physical, playing fast, and our offense playing really well, we're putting a lot of points on the board. And, I haven't played a fourth quarter yet this season. That's good for the team. Because we're healthy and we're feeling good, but it starts with our coaching staff. We take pride in our hallmarks, and relentless pursuit and effort is one of our hallmarks, and we just want to check that box and being physical and things of that matter. But just having all those different factors, I think that's what's really contributed to our success on the defensive side of the ball.
This is your longest road trip of the year, Matt, coming up that you have, and it's always difficult to go down and play a good team like this. I'm kind of curious about any special preparations you might have. And I wanted to ask you about whether or not Grand Valley's ever had a situation where you're going back to play somebody when you've had a player from that school playing for you. I know we've had a lot of transfers who have gone elsewhere to play for schools that played against Grand Valley. But have you ever had a situation like this where you've got a team that might be gearing up or might have an emotional edge that they feel because of one particular guy?
Yeah, to speak to the first part of your question, we don't change things up a ton. I think for me, that gets back to the whole thing of like, this is about us. This is about the way we do things. If I were to change up our routine significantly for a specific opponent, I might in a way send the wrong message to our team. That in some way this is more about this opponent than it is about us. We still very, very strongly at Grand Valley that we're going to start internally, and we're going to try to play the best that we can possibly play. So I'm not big on changing things up too much unless, you feel like you have to. I don't know that we, with this team, I think they understand that it's about the process throughout the course of the week that leads you up until the kickoff. In regards to, Sydney in this particular contest, this is, it's new for me. I've never had this as a coach where a player is going to be, playing a team that he was previously on. I don't know that it's going to be as big a deal as maybe some people on the outside might make it to be. At the end of the day, you line up and you play. There might be a little bit of, some conversations, here and there, but at some point you line up and you play in a 5 technique or a 9 technique, and you read your visual keys and the ball's snapped. And, you would think that all of our players, and him included, that they have motivations to play well. It doesn't matter who they're playing; they want to go out and perform. And I'm sure, as like I said, it's an interesting dynamic, but I don't want to overstate it because at some point it's 11-on-11 football and the guys are out there playing against each other, and he just will know more of them than maybe some other of our guys on our team. But we're still playing football.
Bart, can you talk a little bit about the difficulty you had last year against Ohio Dominican, the challenges that they presented to you? That was a very close ball game, one that could have gone either way. What do you remember most about the looks that they threw at you?
I think that was the first team that really, got home and hit me in college. And so, that was the first game I got hit just a couple times. But, that second game, really welcome to college football. And, I think I wasn't at the level that I'm playing at now at that point. And they did a good job, kind of frustrating me a little bit. And, it wasn't clean for me and I really had to adjust. So, it felt really good, though. I feel like from what I remember, I had a really rough third quarter in that game. And came back, and we had a couple drives. And there were a couple big plays that, I look back on the season, I pretty, pride myself on. I remember I checked the ball down to Terrell on a big third down. And we extended the drive, and we ended up scoring a touchdown. And there was, I think on that same drive, I threw a ball to Bean. And that really extended the drive too. So it was kind of a little bit of both. There was a lot of struggles in that game, but also a lot of, times where I felt like, I was playing pretty well. So, but hopefully this go around, it's just one side of that spectrum, and just a whole nother year with a whole nother offense. I think that we can be in a position and where it's way more possible. And, just with the experience and how many games I've played up to this point.
And could we have both of you players comment about the stretch of games coming up right now? You started with 3 in a row at home and then a game against a team that maybe wasn't quite at your level. But how much do you guys realize now that the next 4 or 5, maybe 6 teams are all teams that have capabilities and are going to present a stiffer test probably each one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important that we, like Coach Mitchell said, we don't change up the week. We prepare the same the first 4 weeks as we will this week and the next week. So it's not really going to change anything due to who we're playing the next 6 weeks. We just know that we got to get prepared for Ohio Dominican this week. So
Yeah, we don't. The only assumption we make is that we don't underestimate any team. Because it is the GLIAC and there's a lot of good ball in this conference. So we treat every opponent as if they have the chance to beat us, and we just make sure we bring our best. All 3 phases, because we know they're going to bring their best, and that's pretty much our approach.
Okay, and Lubber Stadium will be used on Friday night as the Grand Valley State soccer team will be hosting a game 7 o'clock at Lubber Stadium. And the football team will be at Ohio Dominican. That will conclude today's media luncheon. Thanks.